Hello, good evening, and welcome to tonight's edition of The Probe. The show is live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV 125. We're also live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, and over 30 affiliates across the country. On social media, we are streaming across all our digital platforms at Joy News on TV. Around the world, we are on myjoyonline.com. It has been 8 weeks since the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CETAG, launched an industrial action that has led to the shutdown of all 49 colleges of education across the country. As a result, thousands of students, including first-year students who reported to school for the first time and had barely 2 weeks of lectures, have been sent home, leaving the future of teacher education hanging in the balance. The strike, declared indefinite from Monday, November 24, 2025, stems from CETAG's accusations that the government has failed to implement a National Labour Commission NLC arbitral award issued over 2 years ago. Well, among the grievances are unpaid all year-round compensation for additional duties performed in 2022 across 39 colleges, with only Accra College of Education receiving partial payment and outstanding book and research allowance arrears for the 2022-2023 and 2023-2024 academic year. CETAG also flagged unpaid book and research top-up arrears for the 2021-2022 academic year at Accra College of Education, and what it terms the downgrading of experienced tutors holding master's degree, a move the association says violates both agreed conditions of service and the Labour Act 2003 Act 651. We'll delve into these matters shortly. First, Joy News Research has been digging into this particular, strike by CETAG, and you have that on your screen. And you see CETAG there since they started the strike. It's 56 days of industrial action. And what we know so far, the strike actually began on November 24, 2025. And they are saying that government failure to implement the NLC arbitral award issued on May 2nd, 2023 is the rationale behind the industrial action. And there you have other key concerns that they've been expressing, the unresolved issues. They're saying unpaid all year-round compensation for 2022. Additional duties, and then they also cited book and research allowance arrears for 2022-2023 up to 2024 academic year. And as earlier stated, 2021-2022 book and research allowance also owed to one particular college, Accra College. And including the unresolved issues on the agenda also is downgrading master's degree teaching staff in the College of Education, which undermines, according to them, professional dignity and violates agreed conditions of service and the Labour Act 2003 Act 651. Now, the budget for colleges of education, as you have it there on the screen, is about 1.26 billion cedis, which is an increase of the 2025 budget, about 26.83%. And so far, colleges of education in Ghana, 47 public colleges of education, but we know that there are some private colleges of education, which brings the total number to 49. And then the number of enrolled students as of 2024 is the figure you have there, 60,816 students enrolled in the colleges of education, many of whom are actually sitting at home. And of course, there was a petition to the vice president for an intervention. And this is the quote we picked from that particular petition from the CETAG angle. They said, "We plead that you intervene to help restore downgraded teaching staff to the senior member rank of assistant lecturer on a transitional basis." This was a petition to the vice president. And also, you see the gentleman on your screen there, Divine Nanija, is the president, Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana. And he said that we are appealing, quote, "We are appealing to the government to come to a final understanding with CETAG so that this issue can be resolved. It is affecting teacher trainees who have no idea what is actually going on. Well, tonight we ask who should be held responsible for this particular strike. Is it CETAG? Is it PRINCOF, GTEC, or the Ministry of Finance? How can the lost weeks of academic work be restored? And should members of CETAG continue to draw salaries if they persist or if this particular strike goes on? Joining me in studio for answers are the President of the Principal of Colleges of Education Forum, PRINCOF, Professor Samuel A. Atintono. You're welcome to the conversation. And I also have President of the Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana, Naninja Divine. I hope I got your name right.
Yes, please.
Okay, and joining us on Zoom is the President of CETAG, Maxwell Bono. And on the phone is the Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, Professor Abdul Ahmed. And my name is Carlos Galoni. You can also join the conversation by sending us a message on our social media platforms like Joy News on TV. We'll zoom straight into the conversation and right after this particular breather. Stay with us. Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us here on The Probe. Let me begin from the studio, Professor Atintono. It's been almost about 8 weeks now since this particular strike has been on. Tell us how this has affected students on your campus at Accra College of Education and across the 49 colleges of education so far.
Thank you very much. And good evening to our cherished listeners and to our teachers, lecturers. Maxwell Bono, who is the president, greetings to him and our students. As you think that when they started on November 2025, 24th November 2025, recall that we had just reopened for 1 week. And then in a week later, because of Christmas break, we actually had 2 weeks that we didn't have any work. And we had an agreement to be back on the 19th. For some other reasons, we have actually postponed the opening to 9 February. So in real terms, I think there hadn't been any much activity because of the holidays. But yes, I would also agree that the action of our teachers have somehow distorted the calendar. Recall, our students go into the classroom, basic schools, to do teaching practice, what we call supported teaching as a practical experience. As we speak now, those who are in level 400 are actually undergoing that, but the students who should have been back level 100 to 300 to be on campus who also take part in this are not actually, because we haven't resumed, they are not back yet. It is our hope that when the strike happened, at the strike, we had an engagement with the Minister of Education, and it's all about the issues he raised. Book and Research Allowance arrears for 2023. I have seen on the screen, and I think there's also a letter from CETAG itself, now also adding 2021, I think 2022, 2023, which is something, I remember very well, we had a conversation with GTEC boss, and it was agreed that we should, actually, if you look at the ruling, it was January 2023. So legitimately, for the 2023-2024, which they are talking of, is right, it's an arrears they deserve. That's a Book and Research. But we have not concluded on the 2022-2023.
Okay.
In fact, their letter and their argument is saying that it should be prorated because the academic year, although started in September, if you take it that until another August, the academic calendar, they are entitled to it. But it's something that we have to have a conversation around.
So which of these have you agreed on with GTEC?
I think the one that is not in doubt is the 2023-2024.
Okay.
But the 2022-2023, I wouldn't want to talk because President Maxwell Bono is here. We have taken ourselves to GTEC and Minister of Education. And the very last time, the Minister for Education said, look, he is also a lawyer, and he thinks that if you look at what the ruling is, he has no problem with the 2023-2024. But 2022-2023, he thinks they have to come back and then they can sit around.
So what government owes them now is the 2022-2023.
2023, 2024.
So how many years? 2 years?
Arrears. It's an arrears. It's 1 year per what is approved that I know of. Is 2023, 2024.
Okay, that has been approved.
Yes.
Okay, but the 2022, 23
is something we'll have to discuss.
Have a discussion.
Yeah,
over.
And they themselves have even written to NSC for an interpretation on that, for them to interpret or provide clarity as to what it is, whether they are entitled or not. But I see the argument. They are saying, give us pro rata. If you are not giving us everything for that year, I have no problem. But these are things when I say we have to get back to GTEC and that of the Ministry for Education, then we can get finality on it.
As PRINCOF, what is your position on this matter, on the claims of CETAG? What is your position as PRINCOF?
I think that for me, I wouldn't have any issue to talk about it. These are in policy. If, for example, you look at the university and that's what is done, it's approved, I have no problem for them. But if it's something that's not done, I'm not too sure I'll support it. But as I said, bottom line is the parties involved have to sit down. I don't think it's any big issue that we cannot.
Some have described the CETAG strike as in bad faith because most of their concerns were addressed by this particular government just few months into when it took office. From where you sit as PRINCOF?
I think, well, sometimes the issues involved, you get a little bit confused or a little bit worried. I should say, or I must say that these agreements were reached far back in 2024. If you look at the migration, all the processes leading to this, by December 2024, we had concluded the migration roadmap and what was entitled, but the implementation hadn't taken place. So fast forward, a new government came January 2025. Even before the minister could assume office, PRINCOF took the lead, and we worked with CETAG and that of, there's another group, CENSAC.
Okay.
That's a non-teaching category.
Yeah.
We had a very good agreement, and we actually let it. When I say we let it, in terms of making finances and making sure the matter was done before Controller and Accountant General. We needed the staff to come and meet an offsite to get this done. Together with GTEC, Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Controller, and even with the CETAG, they really supported the exercise, and that of the CENSAC. That led to the migration of the staff of the colleges onto the university structure.
Okay.
In fact, January 2025 was when they were actually paid the monies that they were looking for. And bear in mind, this migration took effect January 1st, 2023, which meant that by the time we're doing the migration in 2025, we have clearly about 3 years arrears or 2 years arrears. So there was a roadmap to pay the arrears from January, 3 months, 4 months, until we walk to the end by July that year. So yes, government did well because it started before they came. They took over. Immediately, they implemented it and paid all the arrears that they were entitled. Of course, there were some fallouts, such as some staff who were there before this migration happens. What then should we do? Because they did work, so they had to be paid. Those fallouts were there. And even when we implemented in January, we noticed that some staff, in the process, some have upgraded. Then they were left out. So we had to also go back again in March to work on this. So I would say there had been some great effort by the government. But this particular one, which is holding us, that's the Book and Research, is also something they didn't disagree because when
Who didn't disagree? The government?
The government, yes, because when they were in the colleges of education, they had a certain rate, which was Book and Research Allowances. So, for example, I think they were paid $1,000 per year per lecturer. But the university were taking something like $1,500 or $200. But there was a difference. So it is that difference after the migration, the actual arrears for the salaries, which government had paid. Then came this Book and Research Allowance.
Okay.
Of course, I would have thought that they should have paid them. Unfortunately, the processes involved, you need to get some clearance from Minister of Finance, which we did. When they triggered the strike action, we went to the minister. We all agree that government should work within 3 weeks. But of course, we went into Christmas. You don't think in a budget reading, one would expect that maybe they should have exercised some patience. We'll get back to the classroom and give them that space.
Okay.
But union leaders as they are, I think they said the pressure is from their members.
Okay. All right. We have the president. We'll be engaging him. But they also raised issues about the downgrading of the master's bit. We'll come to speak to that. But let me find out from you, Divide. How has this actually affected student population? Over 60,000 students across the country, many of whom are actually sitting home now.
All right. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And a very big good evening to whoever that is listening, especially all the teacher trainees that are watching us at this moment. Yes, what I want to say is that, in fact, this particular strike, it is not this particular year that it started, actually. I think it's about 3 years now that teacher trainees normally keep facing these particular challenges and all that. But one of the greatest challenges that this strike is posing on the teacher trainees is the disruption of the academic calendar. Because as we speak, their colleagues in the traditional universities, they are in school doing whatever that they are supposed to do. But here as a case, they are in the house and they don't even know when they are supposed to come to school. At first, they communicated that on the 19th of January they should come. Here be the case where they are also telling them they should come on the 9th February. And nobody at any point can say that it is not because of the strike that they are actually pushing the resuming date to 9th February. And I keep saying that it is high time the government and all other stakeholders come to one accord and find solution to this particular issue, because teacher trainees cannot continue to suffer from what they know nothing about. That's what I keep saying, because as we speak now, if you take a phone and call any teacher trainee, of the College of Education, and ask, what is the cause of the CETAG strike? They will not be able to tell you.
You've not communicated with your teachers, CETAG, to tell you why they're on strike?
I mean, like, what the CETAG is demanding is something that is, in a way, not easy for ordinary teacher trainees to understand. And all these teacher trainees that we're talking about...
They need money for a book research allowance so they can read more and come and teach.
Yes, that is what they will say, book and research. But in a way, it doesn't actually have a full meaning to ordinary teacher trainee. But they have actually told to come and pay their fees, and only to be informed that their lecturers are on strike and they cannot continue with their academic work. So it poses a great challenge to them. And now let us also look at the level 4 unrest, as the president of this rightly mentioned. They are doing their macro teaching as a result of the new policy, that is the in-out policy. So meaning that they are not using the school facilities. They have actually rented in town and they are embarking on their macro teaching. And one semester, or the first semester of them, supposed to be outside. And as we speak, they are in the middle of completing their first semester, because they are supposed to finish on 7th March. But here is the case, lecturers are on strike, meaning that there wouldn't be supervision if it happens that the 7th March comes and then the lecturers are still on strike. And as we all know, they have rented for a 1-year period. So meaning that if they are not able to supervise them, in a way, we could say that even when they come back for the second semester, there will be a way to supervise them. But then meaning that they have to go home, wait for their juniors, that is the level 100s to the level 300s, to come and continue and finish their first semester. Then they will go on break as vacation, which they have to say if it is 1 month, they all stay together, and then now come back to finish or to start the second semester. So meaning as at that time, the renting period with their landlords and all those things maybe has expired and they have to renew them again.
So it's not just affecting them academically?
Yes, financially.
Okay.
It is affecting them. And even the 3 weeks that they came, nothing happened. Nothing happened. No lectures, no course material, nothing. So me, and as representing the teacher trainees, we have considered that 3 weeks to be like they have not come to school. So they are here to come. That is what we have considered. And that is what we are also pushing them, hoping that even if the strike is called off, the 3 weeks that they have not had lectures, it must be added again. So meaning they are starting academic calendar, or they are starting their semester at fresh again. That's what we are looking at. And these are the challenges.
Huge disruption there.
Yes. And I keep saying, PRINCOF as we speak, they are not affected. CETAG is not affected.
Because they are drawing salaries.
Yes, because whatever they are supposed to do, they are doing. Whatever they are supposed to get, they are getting. But then look at the teacher trainees, who actually have nothing, or who actually has no idea about the whole thing. So I think that if indeed the CETAG members deserve what they are demanding, it should be given to them. If also the government thinks that maybe what they are demanding, they don't deserve it, the government should know ways and means to pass or to get that result. But if they don't have it, then there should not be any excuse of granting them their demands to allow teacher trainees to come back to schools and then have their academic works done successfully.
Okay. Hold it. Let me go to Zoom to speak to Maxwell Bono. Your critics say the CETAG strike is actually a deliberate sabotage. You are trying to sabotage the government, and they base this concern on the fact that government has shown the way of paying part of your demands. And so going on strike 8 weeks plus, it's a clear intent to sabotage the government. You agree with those concerns?
Hello, Kaloni Lolonyo, good evening to you for the great job you are doing. And good evening to my colleagues across the 49 colleges of education, even though we organize 47 for now. And good evening to Professor Titonu, Divine, and the other panelists. It's sort of unfortunate for such an accusation. CETAG issue, as you are aware, Kaloni, started even before this government took office. So I can say on authority that this government that is in power is aware of CETAG issues even before they took office, and we have even been to them. You recall that we gave press release somewhere 27th of October last year, reminding government to actually resolve the issues that you have rightly outlined. Unfortunately, nothing happened. As CETAG leadership, we took the initiative even as at 10th February last year to get to the ministry to remind the Minister for Education that the migration of staffs of college education onto the university salary structure was just one major component of the arbitral award that we won on 2nd May 2023. That there are other components of the award that have not been implemented. And therefore, they must take steps to make sure that these other components are implemented.
Which are these other components are what, if you can, for those who do not know?
Thank you. So these other components include: one, the payment for the all-year-round work compensation for additional duty performed in the year 2022. Kalone, we are now in 2026, and we are still talking about allowances that people have worked for that you needed to pay them in the year 2022. In fact, for this all-year-round work, initially only 7 colleges were paid. But as a result of the strike, about 30 colleges have been paid now, and we still have 12 outstanding colleges, 12 that have not been paid. Then we also have another 4 colleges, which includes St. John Bosco College of Education, Abetifi College of Education, Mount Mary, and even Accra College of Education, where Professor Titonu is. They have not been paid their money fully. They were paid only part payment. So even with the strike, the government has not been able to resolve or pay all this money that we are talking about. They only made part payment. Then the second major issue has got to do with the 2022-23 Book and Research Allowance arrears, and also 2023-2024. Indeed, the 2023-24 GTEC agreed in principle that we deserve that money, and therefore they collected data for it to be paid. Unfortunately, the payment didn't take place. We have gone to the Minister of Finance. We are the Minister of Labor, Employment and Jobs, nothing. There were only promises. We even make a big effort to reach out to the chairman for the Parliamentary Select Committee on Education, MP for Akachinov, and Robert Peter Nochu. He also said he will intervene. Kaloni, nothing happened. That of the 2022-2023, as Professor Titonu rightly said, this was something that we deserve to be paid. However, GTEC said that we did not win the award in 2022. Now we say, fine. If we did not win the award in 2022, then you calculate it by pro rata and pay us, because, Kaloni, if you look at the migration was done in retrospectively as directed by the National Labour Commission. Retrospective payment 1st January 2023. What it means is that anything that has fallen within January 2023 should be paid. You cannot pay or migrate us in 1st January 2023, then the component that has also fallen in January 2023 said that one we are not going to pay. I also want to provide a practical situation here. And GTEC boss, Professor Jenapor, my good friend, knows this, that in a traditional university, assuming a lecturer is recruited in January 2023, meanwhile the academic year is 2022-2023, it is taken that 2022, the lecturer did not work, so the Book and Research Allowance, they don't calculate it to cover the 2022. However, once the lecturer is recruited in January 2023, the lecturer is paid from January 2023 up to the end of that academic year. It could be September or October, about 8 months, 9 months. Okay. So all that we are saying is that since we have actually worked from January 2023 up to the end of the academic year, and we have evidence of the academic calendar, calculate it by pro rata and pay us that money. If you take that of Akokere College of Education, what they have, the problem they have there is the research top-up that was paid to all other colleges except Akokere College of Education. Kaloni, how much are we talking about here? That issue is around 1,046 Ghana cedis per lecturer. And you're talking about 35 lecturers. So barely about 4,000 Ghana cedis is enough to clear that issue.
4,000 or 40,000? You said 1,000 per head?
Yeah, 1,000.
And
so 1,046, so about 4,000 Ghana cedis will be enough to clear that. And I think even that one, GTEC is can clear that from its own.
That should be about 40,000 plus. Anyway, you make the point. Yeah,
that's fine. Okay, that's fine. So GTEC is can even clear that one from its own IGF. Unfortunately, that was not done. Then we come to the last one, which is our colleagues who have been downgraded. GTEC will say that they have not been downgraded and that they have been placed on a lower rank because under colleges of education, they were placed on a salary rate of 20L, and in the new migration, they were placed on 19L. But Aloni, the challenge with such a situation is that our issue in the course of the migration, a lot of things were hidden from us because they knew that certain groups of our colleagues will be placed on a lower rank. So certain documents were not even made known to us until the migration took place. These colleagues we are talking about, Kaloni, have taught, some of them have taught in the colleges for about 30 years, some 20 years, 25 years. GTEC said that they were looking at a qualification, that is research masters, MPhil. But these colleagues, they have masters with research, meaning they have done the second degree with some level of research.
But they don't have the MPhil. They don't have the MPhil, right?
I agree. Yeah, they don't have the MPhil.
So then GTEC is justified to downgrade them, because if the requirement is for you to have MPhil and you do not have the MPhil, you have masters plus some experience, you do not meet the threshold. Why then are you holding the teacher trainees to ransom on that issue?
No. Don't forget, that is not the only issue I mentioned.
I know. But as it stands now, it is clear that that concern cannot hold water, because if
you could just allow me,
okay,
the point is that, you see, we have met with the GTEC boss on several occasions. That's how I get highly disappointed that we actually made a plea to him that apart from the qualification, these other colleagues of ours have not been reassigned. Kaloni, the job description that the lecturers, senior lecturers are also undertaking, it is the same job description that they have been given. They are also lecturing. They are doing the same thing as others are doing. You have not given them a different job description. How would they perform? It's just like taking somebody to the ring. You tie the person's hand at the back and say, go ahead and fight. And yet, giving the person assurance, you win, you go ahead. That is unfortunate. So we are saying that since they are also doing the same job, you have not reassigned them, why not grant some concession? And they also have their leadership. We met with GTEC and said, look, why not look at the allowance regime, what they were taking previously, and grant them some of the allowances that will make them also feel that they are working in the college of education, so that those of them who are making effort gradually, they get the MPhil. Then you place them on the university salary structure.
Okay.
Technically, before I leave, or you go to the next person, we were supposed to even have a transitional period Kaloni, in our case, which
transitional period for what?
Transitional period here means that those of our colleagues that they have classified not to have the MPhil so that they place them, they could have been allowed to remain within the college salary structure so that when they attain that qualification, then they could migrate them. Unfortunately, that period, that transitional period, we never had it. So they have to find a rank for them within the university salary structure and place them. And where they have been placed, a lot of the allowances that they used to take that enable them to work, all those allowances have been denied them.
They just have to get their MPhil, Mr. Bono. Anyway, how many are they?
They are about 350 thereabout, but the interesting thing is that some of them have actually done the top up, and gradually they are being placed. That is the situation.
Okay, so these are your concerns. So far, what responses have you gotten from government or GTEC on this matter, or these concerns you've outlined?
Well, thank you. Like I said, regarding the all-year-round work compensation, we only observed that some colleges, in addition, have been paid from 7 to 30, meaning we still have 12 outstanding. Then 4 colleges also still have not received full payment. They have received part payment. That is 1. As for the 2023-24, nothing has been heard. The Book and Research Allowance, arrears, nothing has been heard. That of 2022-23 also, nothing. Aquacare case, we haven't heard anything. And then the issue of the PI, the downgraded staff also is to be looked at, but we have not arrived at any conclusion yet. Maybe on the 21st, the NLC will be inviting us to look at that issue again.
All right. Stay with us. Let me bring in Professor Jinapo. He is the Director General of GTEC. I believe you've listened to the concerns from CETAG, the teacher trainees themselves, as well as PRINCOF. And all these are being placed at your doorstep partially because you are supposed to take certain decisions on these concerns. What do you make of these concerns, and what have you been able to do about these concerns so far?
Well, Carlos, good evening. And I think this issue, for the benefit of our viewers, they need to know the history that has brought us where we are. As you are aware, the colleges of education started as institutions that were awarding certificate E. Then they moved to Set A, then to diploma. Then, when they were moved to diploma, the idea was they were supposed to be transitioned to university colleges where they would be awarding degrees. So during this period, these institutions were affiliated to a number of universities. I think Professor Tuntunu's institution, for instance, is affiliated to the University of Ghana. The idea was that the institutions were supposed to be mentored and to be absorbed by their affiliate institutions or the mentoring institutions, being University of Ghana, University of Cape Coast, and others. So along the line, I think the whole process was supposed to end somewhere in 2023. But along the line, especially the colleges that belong to the mission schools, they were not happy about this whole arrangement because they thought if they were absorbed, the identity of the schools were going to be lost. So during the time of, I think, Dr. Ebiku, the agreement was we put a hold on this absorption and think through it properly whilst we move forward. So we went to NLC, and I think when you listen to Maxwell, the ruling at NLC was in May 2023. I have the ruling, May 2023. And the NLC ruling stated categorically that all arrears must take place from January 2023. In fact, the calendar of the colleges of education post-COVID always started in January. Maxwell can check the last 3-4 years when have school started. It always started in January. So there has not been any ambiguity relative to arrears when it comes to the college of education. So when it comes to book and research allowance, the arrears that government owes the colleges of education is 2023-2024. But let's go back to the question that you posed. The CETAG strike, who is to be blamed? Is it CETAG, PRINCOF, GTEC, or government? I think that CETAG has not been fair to this current administration. Why do I say this? There was a ruling that was given somewhere in 2023 May, where arrears were supposed to be paid, book and research allowance was supposed to be paid, online teaching support was supposed to be paid. In fact, salaries was supposed to be migrated to the level of university lecturers. The new government came into office in January 2025. We started paying CETAG members, CENSAC members, everybody within the college environment, the same allowance and salaries, just as they are collected in the university. In fact, they weren't paying just salaries, they paid arrears starting from 2023. So for 2025, all the arrears starting from 2023, 2024 was paid in 6 tranches. Maxwell can attest to that. So if government has paid that, and beyond that, in 2025, book and research allowance that was paid for their colleagues in the university, they took same. They took the same as their colleagues. Online teaching support, they took the same. So if this has happened, and government has demonstrated commitment through GTEC, then we are aware that we owe you 2023, 2024. Because of fiscal space, we are unable to pay. But we would pay. It's not as if we are not going to pay. We would pay. Would it be right for CETAG to go on strike?
Aware of this government position?
They are going on strike because they've not been paid their book and research allowance and all year round allowance. Meanwhile, they are on strike. December, they never worked. They've taken their salary. Then in January, they are still going to take their salary. So I think for us as a commission, we are very, very committed to making sure that the book and research arrears which is left is going to be paid. Government, as my brother Bonu rightly said, even within this space, have paid some institutions when it comes to the all year round. So is it fair for these 36 institutions to also be on strike, even though they've taken their money? When it comes to the downgrading, I find it very interesting. When he was at the College of Education, he was a principal tutor. That was his rank. A principal tutor is the highest rank when it comes to the College of Education. Today, he's an assistant lecturer. Has he been downgraded? If he's been downgraded, why is he not going on strike? Nobody has been downgraded. And I think it needs to be stated emphatically. To teach at the university, you don't need a research master. You need a PhD, a terminal degree, or equivalent. Research masters is a transitional qualification. It is a transitional qualification. And we have people who have been teaching at the College of Education for 30 years. As he said, they don't have research masters. So if we've done the realignment or we've done the migration, and people have been placed as assistant lecturers from principal tutors, and people who do not have research masters, which is a transitional qualification, and they are made as a principal instructor. And to be honest with you, the 380 that he quoted, I don't think he has the data. As a matter of fact, the number of people who have had their PhD at the colleges of education within this period is amazing. Those who are having their research masters is incredible. So we are very, very encouraged about the...
What are the figures? What are the figures?
I don't have the figures on top of my head, but I can tell you on authority that they are not up to 50. They are not up to 50. I can tell you on authority that they are not up to 50. I can check and give you the figures, but they are not up to 50. But because of what we've done is encourage people to go and get their research masters. And let me state, and let me tell Bunu that if he's holding a research master's, it's a transitional qualification that he's holding. Within 2-3 years, he'll be asked to produce his PhD. If not, as it happens at the university is a terminal profession. If you don't have the qualification to teach, which is a terminal degree, then you may be asked to step aside. So if he has colleagues who are holding research masters and they think that is enough, that is not enough. So let me conclude that government is very committed in fulfilling its promise of paying the book and research allowance for the 2023-2024. All we are looking for is fiscal space. Once the money is available, we are going to pay. And I don't think CETAG is being fair to not only government, but to the whole Ghanaian population, that for 56 days, they are not teaching, they are taking their salaries, they are taking their allowances, and the students are the people who are suffering. We are talking of a student population of 60,000 students. That is the student population, 60,000. And these students are made to stay home because of some monies that government has said it is going to pay. It is not as if it's not going to pay. And government has demonstrated a lot of commitment, as I indicated. From 2025 January, they've paid your salaries as your colleagues at the universities. They've paid all arrears when it comes to what? Your salaries, online teaching support. They're not talking about it. Government has paid online teaching support. Even though during that time, you never qualified, but it has been paid. So I will use this platform to plead with them that they should reconsider the strike that is eating into the academic calendar. Now the tertiary educational space is very competitive. As the students said, University of Ghana, they started school at College of Education, there's no school. So tomorrow, if I'm a parent, I'll be thinking through whether I should take my ward to University of Cape Coast or I should take him to Bagabaga College of Education.
Well, you said government is committed to paying this monies that CETAG is raising. From where you sit, when is government likely to make this payment so they can come back to the classroom?
Carlos, as I indicated, starting January, government paid their salaries just as their colleagues at the university. Starting January, arrears relative to salary, online teaching support, starting from 2023 January, government has paid all. In fact, this year, Book and Research Allowance for 2024-2025, which was paid to their colleagues at the university, they were paid same. As he rightly said, during this strike period, government has paid some money relative to the all year round. So there's demonstrable evidence of government's commitment. And as he himself indicated, he's met the Minister of Education a number of times. I think Tony himself has met the Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Finance have demonstrated commitment. He said he's going to pay. It's not as if he's not going to pay.
Okay.
So if he says he's going to pay, why don't we hold him to his word, informed by his track record of paying, and go back to the classroom?
So if
it is becoming as if this whole thing is about money. And if it becomes that way, then I think it's very unfortunate.
Is there anything GTEC can do if CETAG refuses to go back to the classroom?
Well, where we are, we are doing our part to make sure that the 2023-2024 arrears is paid. That, as he himself indicated, we are very committed to it because we believe it is in the award.
Okay.
But as for 2022-2023, there's nothing in for them. They don't have 2022-2023.
Do you think they should continue drawing salaries as they continue to be on strike?
Well, we, as I indicated, our priority is to work with the Minister of Education to get the 2023-2024 Book and Research Allowance paid. But I think the ethical consideration relative to they being home and drawing salaries and the students being at home while their colleagues at the traditional universities are in school is something that they have to think through and take a decision. Because I don't think they are being fair to the students, they are being fair to government, and they are being fair to the Ghanaian populace when they are home, they are drawing salaries, when they've taken all the allowances that was due them from 2023 to date, they've taken all the allowances that was due them related to online teaching support. When government has committed that it's going to pay and they're home,
okay,
I don't think they are being fair to the Ghanaian people.
Okay.
So they should think through it. Maxwell should think through it, work with his people, and they should. I think they should come back. But we are working to see what will happen. It boils down to, my brother, it boils down to financial space. If there's money, government will pay.
All right.
And as I indicated, government has paid over this year. These are decisions that were taken before they came into power, but they paid.
Okay.
So why do you hold them to ransom?
Okay, Prof, stay with us. I will come back to wrap up in studio, but let me go to Maxwell Bono. These are the responses from GTEC with regards to the issue you raised, the money issue, the arrears issues, as well as the downgrade. You heard him. What are your responses?
Kaloni, and Prof, I think I've had countless interactions with him. And respectfully, Prof, you understand that what we are now, we are talking about time value for money. Kaloni, for somebody to have worked since 2022, and you're saying that government to pay financial space, what are we talking about here, Kaloni? Is it what that has been given, you are supposed to implement the retrospect to the 1st January 2023. And we kept reminding and talking about the monies that government owe and the fact that they needed to pay. It's not the case that CETAG is strike happy. Kaloni, even when we go on strike, the work that we also needed to do fell up on us. You have to come back and go through strikes. And I also want to correct something that CETAG does not have hand in determining whether the students should go home or not. For students to be asked to go home, that was decided by the government, PRINCOF and GTEC. They asked the students to go home on the 12th of December, early break, and they did not say that it was as a result of CETAG strike. They said that that was going to allow for the completion of admission process of the 2025 WASE, what they call it, awaiting results. Then the student was supposed to come back on the 19th, and later there was another postponement. So I think it's just a case that government is trying to play around this whole issue. Governments must come out clearly, take the bull by the horn, and resolve these issues once and for all.
So the students are not at home because of the CETAG strike?
Well, I'm saying that it doesn't lie in our hand to decide whether the students should go home or not. Actually, the students were on campus, and they were asked to go home. We did not. So for somebody to say that because we are not working, we are drawing salary, it's unfortunate. You can, if these monies were paid, I'm not sure we'll be where we are today, Kaloni.
Okay.
So we are talking about these, an award that was given in 2023. We are in 2026. 3 years. I don't think any worker at GTEC has such arrears owned by government. They will make sure that their monies are paid. They should just do same to us so that we can also be happy and get our work done. We are not happy with the way things are going. CETAG members are not strike happy. We are law-abiding citizens. We are committed to helping our students. We sympathize with them, but it's the government that is failing. Other stakeholders that have a role to play, they must tell the government the truth so that these issues are resolved once and for all.
On the downgrade matter, Professor Jinapor has clarified that no one, and not even a single member of your group, has been downgraded.
That's quite interesting. Well, I said it in my intro that GTEC will always say that they have not been downgraded, that they have been placed on a lower rank. If lecturers have been placed on a lower rank, and they are okay, why would they be complaining? I'm sure in your intro, you saw a letter that was even written to the vice president. Why did they write to the vice president? Assuming things are okay. It means that there was something wrong somewhere. There are issues there to be looked at.
Okay.
The number that I gave, I think that was the original number that I mentioned. But I also quickly added that a number of such individuals are doing the top up and they are being placed. I also made that point. I'm not saying that the number is still the 350. Well, the fact of the matter is that those colleagues who were placed on a lower rank are not happy because the allowances that they used to take and then the work that they are doing the same work. And we have pleaded with GTEC boss that he should just look at it and grant them some concession so that we make progress.
Okay, point well made. Because of time,
he must also look at us.
When are you calling this particular strike off? Tomorrow? When? Tell us.
Kaloni, honestly speaking, I made a point that CETAG is not strike happy. As I speak with you, GTEC is aware that Prof talk about using the investing condition of service to direct our path. Are you aware that even our colleagues who have the PAD, who are supposed to get a full allowance for their responsibility, are currently not being paid? They are still being paid the old rate. Meanwhile, you said that you are using the investors condition of service to direct our path. These are issues that we needed to, again, look at. But most often than not, the institutions will wait. When CETAG came back on strike, they say CETAG is not good. CETAG is holding government to ransom. Where we are, we do not want to embark on another strike for these issues to be resolved.
When is this current one coming to an end?
We want the issues to be resolved once and for all. Until these issues are resolved, I'm not sure any lecturer in the College of Education will want to step his or his foot in the lecture hall to teach. I don't think that will happen.
You want all the issues you've raised resolved. Otherwise, CETAG is not coming back to the classroom.
Exactly so, Kaloni. We want all these issues to be resolved. There are more issues that GTEC has to sit down with us and resolve. You cannot have lecturers in the college with their PhD now and yet still be denying them their full responsibility allowance. When you are paying that to the lecturers in the traditional universities, we are performing the same tax. We even have more work that we are doing than what some lecturers are doing in the traditional universities. And it's like we are being considered a second fiddle of tertiary institutions. Why should it be so? When the lecturers in the traditional university go on strike, you see the speed, the alacrity with which they resolve their issues. When it's about CETAG, oh, don't mind them. As if we are second fiddle. We cannot continue to be treated that way. Professor Ajinapo must take the necessary step, liaise with government for these issues to be resolved. And I'm sure once the colleges are running peacefully, he will also be happy in his office. Currently, I'm not sure he himself is happy. So please, Prof, let's get these issues resolved once and for all. I'm pleading with him. We need to resolve these issues.
Thank you so much, Maxwell Bono, for speaking to us here on the program.
I'm grateful, Kaloni.
Right.
Grateful.
Let me come in studio. A lot of concerns, but we don't have a lot of time, unfortunately. The students, according to Maxwell Bono, are home because PRINCOF decided to send them home. So we cannot blame the fact that students are at home on the CETAG strike. What is your response?
Thank you, Kalon. And I think Maxwell Bono should be very fair to us. We are heads of the institutions, and nobody wants school not to be open for his students to be there. Yes, the problems are there. There are issues. But of course, he himself has alluded to the issues. Why, like DG spoke of, for me, you are home, you are being paid your salary. And as we said, government is committed to paying them and definitely will be paid. If it were their salaries, but this has to be with some allowance, that's a book and research allowance. And then we hold the system to ransom. Again, we appeal to them. But let me also clarify some of the issues. Again, GTEC Director General said clearly that these PI issues, or what they call downgrading, there is no downgrading. It is simple, and Maxwell Bono is here. Before the migration, staff from the College of Education with research master's degrees moved to the universities. And the moment they get there, they were placed as assistant lecturers. Is that downgrading that they were leaving the colleges? No, because when they got there, that's how the system is. We move ourselves to the universities now. Then, by virtue of that migration, they said you need a certain qualification, and that's PhD, to teach. It's as simple as that. We had a whole lot of committee to review, and I was there. And when we look at it, you see, it's about the integrity of the institutions. If you talk about Eugene, they are teaching Winneba and Cape Coast, and you go to the PhD, and our students realize that somebody teaching them doesn't have the same qualification teaching. What do you think is happening in the classroom? Let's be very frank about this. It's the issue with the PIs, and we said the way to go is principals to encourage them to go for further status. I'm happy. Up to where we are, as Jinapo said, he hasn't got the number, but we are very much, what I saw the last, almost 100 of them has either got an MPhil or some with PhDs. That's the motivation, so and that's the way to go. Yeah. So we cannot be saying, if you don't have it, it's some concessions to be giving you. It doesn't happen anywhere. Well,
Maxwell is giving the signal that they are not coming back to the classroom.
Well, I think...
what options do you have as PRINCOF?
For me, I will add my voice to the DG to appeal to them. And he and myself, I remember very well, when we met the minister in December, he set up a small committee where we gave him action points as to what to do. Some of them is what he has said here. One was the payment of the all year round. That has been done, except a few colleges that are left. At a partial payment for the 4 colleges, and 12 that had not been. That follow-up, we are doing it ourselves aggressively. Okay. With the arrears for the 2023-2024, it amounts to about 40 or 41 million. And these have been sent to the Minister for Finance to also authorize it. I think we are working hard to get it done. They will be done. We'll appeal to them. We should think twice.
When are the students coming back?
We have given 9 February, and I'm sure before we work there, they will be back.
If they are not back?
I'm sure they will be back. We're doing everything.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. And let me give you the final word, Divine. You've listened to the regulator GTEC. You've also listened to, CETAG as well as PRINCOF. You are the student. Are you convinced you are coming back? You have a lot of enthusiasm to come back on the 9th of February, right?
Thank you so much again for the opportunity. I think that, as at this point, the teacher trainees are ready to come. Even if it happens that PRINCOF will give a new directive that they should even come before the 9th February, I believe that 90% of them will come that very day because we are ready. What are we doing in the house? We are not doing anything. Our colleagues in the traditional universities are in school doing whatever that they're supposed to do. But what I want to say is that it will be very unfortunate if it happens that the strike goes beyond 9 February and then the students are asked to come back to school. What are they coming to do? Are they coming to eat and sleep? So that will be very difficult on our side. And as an association, we already have advised our people that until the strike issues are resolved, they should stay back home. Until they see that the academic work has been restored, then they come. That's our directive or our advice to them. And we believe so well in our membership that they will by all means comply to this advice that we are giving them, because it doesn't add up. Should they return to school, maybe their lecturers are on strike and nothing meaningful will go on in the schools. That's what I want to say lastly is that I said earlier that it is high time all the stakeholders that are involved actually come to one accord and solve this issue once and for all. We as a student will not be happy only to hear that the strike has been suspended. That is partially. It should be that if the strike is going to be called off, it's called off once and for all, so that imminent academic years to come, there wouldn't be anything like disruption of the academic calendar and all those things. I said earlier, it's 3 years now, and there's never been any smooth academic calendar for the College of Education. So we are appealing to DJ and all other stakeholders that matters. It is high time. It's the best time to get this issues resolved once and for all.
Sure. Let me give the final word to Professor Jinapor. Just 1 minute to give us some assurances that this issue will be resolved and over 60,000 students will be able to come back to the campuses.
Hello?
Hello, Prof.
So I think what we are working towards is to get the 2023-2024 arrears paid. The all year round, we are working very hard to get it paid. But that said, I must say that we have to seriously go back and revisit the whole agenda of the colleges of education probably being absorbed by the universities. This will curtail most of the problems and the differences that we are seeing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Abdullahi Jinapor is the Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. He spoke to us on phone. And I have in studio Naninja Divine. He's the president of TTAG. Maxwell Bono is the president CETAG, as well as Professor Samuel A. Atintono, the president of PRINCOF. And this has been The Pro. We've been live on Joy 99.7 FM and all our social media platforms and around the world on myjoyonline.com. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Carlos Scaloni. Catch you next week. Bye-bye.